Welcome to Red Eye. It's like the Big Lebowski, if by Lebowski you mean Rash. Let's go to TV's Andy Levy for our pregame report. Andy, what's coming up on tonight's show?
Thanks, Greg. Coming up on the big 900th show extravaganza, the House of Representatives clears the way to vote on repealing Obamacare. Michigan Congresswoman McCotter joins us to explain what this means.
Alive. And we're gladious to have Thaddeus sitting right next to me. Michigan Congressman Thaddeus McCotter. He knows the Bill of Rights like I know fishnet tights. I collect them for their historical value. Congressman, you are a congressman. Need I remind you, what are you going to do about this?
Well, wisdom will probably try to get to the bottom of this as quickly as they can. They'll sample as many as they can. And they'll probably bring in some poor people off the street, say somebody, hypothetically someone like a Catherine Amenta or a Brian Van de Graaff, get them loaded and see which one falls down first.
Really?
And my money's on a senator.
You know, first they come for the beer. What's next? Wine spritzers? Then it's over for me.
And your umbrella drinks.
Yes.
Look, I think you're way overthinking this.
Yes.
Again, I go back to my example. If Catherine Amenta thinks she's getting more beer than Brian Van de Graaff is getting and will pass out sooner, she'll be very upset to find out that she's been ripped off. Look, I don't drink, but let's say I go in and get a quart of milk and a pint of milk. I expect one to be larger than the other. Let's say I'm sitting here with you and Bill. I expect him to be larger than you, not spiritually, but physically. And we can go on and on. It is deceptive advertising along the lines of referring to this as a TV show.
Oh, that was unnecessary from the congressman.
And yet accurate.
That guy sold it to that website, I don't know. But it is amazing, Congressman. You live in D.C., so in a sense it is your fault. Are you surprised by everybody just standing there while some guy, again, Stephen's got a great point. You can't hit a kid.
Well, I live in Detroit.
Yeah, but you're in D.C.
Well, you can hit a kid.
Yes.
Need I remind you?
Yes.
Look,
trying to distance yourself from the crime, eh?
Well, you were doing whatever it is you do to pretty yourself up before the show.
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully. The barrister and I were discussing this, and I know there's a temptation for people to think that it's the end of our culture, it's the end of civilization, that humanity's devolved to the level of animals. But there have been instances like this, one in New York, I think Remy will talk about, where you had entire apartment buildings full of people watching a woman be stabbed where the person had the opportunity to go back and do it. That was 1964. And so what we have to understand is human nature does have a barbaric side, but what makes human nature so beautiful is the fact that in spite of it, people do persevere. They do feel the quality of empathy, and they do what Robert Kennedy had once said, quoting the Greeks. We do still try to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world.
I don't know, Remy. It seems like I keep seeing more and more of this happen. There was a couple in Florida. I was listening, by the way. I didn't just...
No, you weren't.
I know. Yeah,
It wouldn't have mattered if they were.
I was still thinking about the kittens.
You were drawing hearts.
I know I was.
They're lovely.
I heart kittens and puppies.
Remy, we must get to the matters at hand.
All right, Congressman, is this a stunt?
Well, first, when you say keyboard playing hamster, I was expecting Levy to pop back up. And I didn't see the turtleneck on that furry little stoat. But, look, the logic of Brian Williams and the left is amazing to me. We had an election. People ran that we would go in and vote to repeal it. We would do everything we could. We were honest that it might not happen overnight. We got elected. We are keeping our word to the American people. Their logic is the fact that the president is obstinate and wants to continue to jam this on the American people. The fact that Harry Reid is continuing to be obstinate. The House should abandon its word to the American people so the president and the Senate can disdain the public's will. That's ridiculous. And I know that when the Democrats controlled the House and George Bush was president, they'd pass things all the time knowing he was going to veto them. They couldn't override them. I didn't hear anyone in the mainstream media calling that a stunt. We are honoring our word to our constituents. They can stand in the way all they want, and the struggle will continue to have affordable quality health care that you control rather than the government bureaucrat.
But you have to admit the Constitution thing was a bit of a stunt.
I know, but some people like you need to hear it once, you know.
Oh, I wasn't listening. Are you kidding me? ESPN was on.
Terrible. You, sir, are not just not an American. You're not even a human being.
I appreciate you calling me sir.
Elected and national politicians to do. If they were to not do it, would be offensive to our system.
But
So,
you know what else? As a person who is stunted, I find it offensive.
Well, in seriousness, before you go to your repulsive sidekick.
And quickly, because
Don't say that to Remy.
Could you imagine in the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s when there was struggle for civil rights legislation that they knew the Senate, some of the Southern senators were never going to let get through, or that a president would not sign? Could you imagine somebody putting forward civil rights legislation in the House and having a vote on it, affirmative vote on it, as a stunt?
Yeah.
So what happens is you have to understand the system. And what they cannot defend is the continued intransigence of the Senate or of the President or of people like you drawing hearts while I'm talking to you.
Yes. Meanwhile, Dean's stuck with an old chestnut calling Tea Partiers racist. How original. Watch the freak watchers.
I think it's a group of older folks who've seen their life change dramatically. The country's not the same. The demographic that we've all known are going to have changes that we all known are going to happen have happened, and all of a sudden it's here for them, and they don't know what to do. It's just a huge change. They never thought the day would really come. It's one thing to read about it in the paper. It's another thing to see it happen, and it's happening. Every morning when they see the president, they're reminded that things are totally different than they were when they were born. But this is the last gasp of a generation that has trouble with diversity. The Tea Party is almost entirely over 55 and white.
Somebody's OD'd on Just for Men. Yeah, the Tea Party is old and white. Unlike Dean and Steny, who are young and playful, I believe we have tape of them. Because Steny and Howard would think those cats are racist. Hey, and they're not. They're just adorable.
Yeah, they might be racist.
They could be.
Yeah.
They don't talk to dogs. That's good of you, Congressman. What did he mean by unhappy families? What do you think he meant by that? I don't get it.
I have no idea. I don't know that he knows what he means. Remember where he works.
Yes.
But look, I think Stephen's right. They control the narrative where only the left goes out to the streets to protest and petition government to do the right thing. They can't handle the fact that the conservative movement has gone out to try to fight for limited, responsible government. And so they go back to the race card. And what I find so fascinating is, having been born in '65 after the march from Edmund Pettus Bridge, Selma to Montgomery.
I don't know that one.
It was, it wasn't a toll road.
Oh, okay.
And there was no cardboard box under the bridge for you to live in.
Hey, that's Craig's line.
The illogic of the chairman, Mr. Dean, is this. All the people who made history and showed the world what the United States was about by electing our first African-American president, that then promptly voted against his Democratic colleagues, have somehow in that interim gone from being noble to being ignoble.
Exactly.
And I don't understand how he can make that with a straight face other than the Just for Men OD.
Yes. Remy, what do you...
Questfield beer scam. Hey, Congressman, maybe a little less time reading the Constitution, a little more time investigating things like this, huh?
Maybe a little less time wearing a turtleneck and getting real life a little more time.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you, Serpico.
Absolutely. Remy, you said... D.C. subway brawl. Congressman, nice job bringing up Kitty Genovese, but isn't it somehow even worse that people were taping this?
Yeah, the technological advances, it puts it out there. And I think, again, Andy, in all seriousness, it's very disheartening when you see it and it's brought right into your home.
Well, also, like, Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer went to jail for this exact thing.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, they did.
Seinfeld episode?
It was the final Seinfeld episode.
That's true.
I believe it was Friends.
Did he cry when he saw it?
Sorry.
Greg, you also said, I bet both of them, meaning Williams and Boehner, smell great.
Mm-hmm.
The answer for Williams is he does. I PA'd for him occasionally back in the 90s. But as far as the speaker goes, I turn the floor over to Congressman McCotter for that one.
Well, I just want to say that I think I take deep offense at Bill calling the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives a puppy Cheeto.
Now, Andy, I don't want to be your job for you, but I do believe I did not call him a Cheeto.
I actually don't recall you calling him a Cheeto.
Thank you. I might have mentioned that he looks like a carrot stick with a tie.
I think the first time the word Cheeto was brought up was just now.
It was clearly implied, and the fact that we all know he's not man enough to say it himself. Somebody had to do it.
I have to say, Boehner looks like they took Snooki and stretched her.
Well, I think it's like a cross between Snooki and somehow Don Draper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who played the Bert Lahr? Bert
Why
Lahr?
you look at me?
Because you're
The
Draw your
cowardly,
heart
the
when you
cowardly
want
lion.
something.
Although Snooki's not a crier. She's tough.
I love Boehner. Boehner is going to do the right thing.
Hey, Congressman, serious question. What about the CBO's claim that repealing Obamacare would add $230 billion to the deficit?
No, they cooked the books in the first place. My colleague, Representative Paul Ryan, has a nice piece out that shows that it's actually going to save taxpayers money to repeal it. They also don't even mention the enormous tax increases or the enormous premiums people are going to increase.
$525 billion.
Yeah, so in the end, it's the same type of argument we had before it was passed, and we just continue to do it. And Paul Ryan,
you are correct.
A good guy. He's got it all laid out for you. Go to Twitter.
Yeah. All right. Hey, also, Congressman, when Bill brought up you guys reading the Constitution and you said it was good for him to hear once, you got to be kidding me. He spent the whole time screaming, "Where's the birth certificate? Where's the birth certificate?"
That was him. I knew
Bill,
there was an effeminate voice ringing out of the chamber.
That was Bill.
Hawaii is not part of the United States. I'm sorry. We've said that time and time again on this very show.
And neither is your own private Idaho.
I had no idea.
Just lastly, Congressman, you were saying something in the green room that really struck me. You said, "Enough with the tea parties. I'm sick of these people." What did you mean by that?
And he stormed out.
This would be odd since you weren't in the green room. And
I'm always in the green
your
room.
Your attempt to stir this brouhaha up strikes me as a desperate attempt on your part to mask the fact that you think that you're going to be in an In Like Flynn movie.
I can dig it.
That you can, my friend.
You're not doing it.
What I wrote was, I will not talk about her.
Congressman, obviously she's racist. What do you make of Snooki? She's an American hero.
Look, I still think Snooki's a board game played with cues.
I don't even know what that is, Bill. This follows the earlier deaths of 100,000 fish in Arkansas River, as well as thousands more bird deaths in multiple locations at home. Congressman, you're like the smartest guy I know. Do you have an answer for all this?
Well, I do remember that with some of the Arkansas and East Texas, they said that the cause of death was sudden impact.
Yeah, great movie.
And I would assume that falling out of the sky and hitting the ground would cause that.
Yeah. Remy,
check for like space junk now or something, or even more suspicious packages.
Don't touch my space junk. That's what they're going to be saying. Congressman, don't look at me like that. You know you're not allowed to hit me.
I wouldn't touch you.
Going to space, Congressman, you would know the answer. Couldn't you just accomplish the same thing with a Pink Floyd album and a bong?
Yeah, but you don't get your munchies out of a tube.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you never know.
He says not knowing.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no desire. No desire to go to space, Bill.
Hey,
Post-game wrap-up.
Thanks, Greg. Hey, Congressman, you finding that the media is being a little more hostile to you now that the Republicans are in the majority?
Yes, I do, Frank Cannon. Thank you for that. This morning I woke up and I was snarked out on a TV station in Washington for doing nothing but trying to bring comedy to the set. And again, the aforementioned examples I had of Catherine Amenta and Brian Vandegraff as alcoholics getting ripped off at Quest Field, I hope you enjoyed this show.
Oh.
Okay. Who are these people you keep referencing?
I don't know, Longstreet. I really don't.
Jealousy is an ugly color on you, Congressman.
Oh, look, I'm sorry, Columbo.
Go away now. Bye, Andy. Remy, Bill, Congressman, Greg. Bye.